When looking at the foods that you're eating before practice, after a weigh-in, on tournament day, there's two things that you need to consider. Are these foods going to hurt my performance, or are these foods going to help my performance? Your body creates energy from the foods that you eat. And what you need to realize is that food has big impacts on where that energy is going to be focused. For example, certain foods are going to take a lot of energy to digest. Other foods are going to get in your body very, very quickly. For instance, if we had a big steak right before training, what's going to happen is that steak might take 6 hours to fully digest out of your stomach. Well, your body's going to have to divert a lot of blood flow to your digestive system to digest that steak. Imagine if you ate a pizza before practice. That pizza is going to sit right in your stomach and it's going to be very hard to digest, so it's not conducive to eat this because it's going to hurt your athletic performance. Foods that are easy to digest are whole foods, fruits and vegetables, superfoods, that type of thing. We want to avoid artificial sweeteners, but we also want to avoid sugar, because if you have a bunch of sugar before practice or before your tournament or during your tournament, what happens is you cause a big sugar rush and then a crash. And that crash usually comes at the worst time, right when you need the energy the most. There is a time when we can have more condensed sugar, and that would be right after practice or right after a weigh-in. However, you must realize when you do that, you do harm your immune system in the long term. Now, the things more specifically that we want to avoid are added sugars, because added sugars are the things that cause your blood sugar to spike and then crash. The natural sugars that occur in fruits, don't worry about those, because those are the healthy foods that have a lot of things that slow down the sugar effects, such as fiber, and then they carry things in it that help your body overall, such as antioxidants, which we'll talk more about in a moment. There's something we all must consider: the pH levels in our body. When you mess with the pH levels, it can hurt your endurance. When you exercise, your body produces acid, and this acid is neutralized by the buffer system of your body. If you're pouring acid into your body, you're hurting the buffer system and you're hurting your endurance. And what do I mean by pouring in acid? I mean sodas. Sodas have a very low pH, so when you drink them, day in and day out, it actually hurts your athletic performance. So there's no time in the day that it's okay for an elite athlete to drink sodas, because they're harming their endurance. What to eat before training, before a game, during a tournament where you might have several matches going on. We need to eat foods that digest easily, that don't spike our blood sugar and cause a crash, and help produce nitric oxide, because that's going to help our endurance overall. So what we look at is those foods, and I've listed a bunch of smoothie recipes on the website that do exactly this. In general, our other food meals should be balanced, and I like to use the food chart created and used by the Olympic Training Center. You can see here that they divide their plate, and this is a great guideline for you to follow for your other meals, because it encourages whole foods and a balanced diet. Let's talk about sports drinks. Sports drinks have a time and a place. What sports drinks are meant to do is they're meant to replace sugar levels and mineral levels. Now, when can you use a sports drink safely? After a weigh-in, number one, or after you have exercised for 1 hour at a very hard pace and you're going to be doing more exercise. That is the time to use a sports drink. Don't look to sports drinks just throughout the day, because they cause your blood sugar to spike and can cause a crash later on. Personally, what I use in place of a sports drink is I use smoothies. So after weigh-in, I like to put a lot of nutrition in somebody's body that digests really easily, and that would be a superfood smoothie. Energy drinks. In general, energy drinks have a problem. Number one, they're basically sodas, so they're very acidic, so they hurt your buffer system like I just talked about. So if you're going to be drinking those, you're going to expect a decrease in endurance. Now, what else do? They're full of sugar. We don't want to drink stuff full of sugar, so there's a couple reasons. Lastly, I don't believe in giving kids caffeine. Caffeine is illegal for Olympic athletes to use. They test for it, so we don't want to give it to them either. But kids in general don't need caffeine to perform. They don't need that boost. Their adrenal glands are already kicking out adrenaline, epinephrine, so they get up for practice very easily. It's better to focus on optimal nutrition than giving your kids a bunch of sugar and caffeine mixed in an acidic drink. You following me? Focus on giving your kids smoothies, fruits, vegetables, those type of things that's going to help their health overall in the long term. Pre-workout drinks are designed to increase nitric oxide levels. That's the biggest benefit of pre-workout drinks. Well, here's the thing. They put L-arginine in there, which is a naturally occurring amino acid that helps increase nitric oxide. What nitric oxide does, it opens the blood vessels so more blood flow can get around the body. When your nitric oxide levels are increased in your body, your muscles can do more work with less oxygen used. This means your endurance improves. That's why it's so important with nitric oxide. The problem with the pre-workout drinks is if you look at them, most of them are loaded with either sugars or artificial sweeteners, which we want to avoid. Now, we can pick foods, fruits, vegetables, and superfoods that naturally increase L-arginine, naturally increase citrulline, such as in watermelons. And what these two things do is they up your levels of nitric oxide naturally and help your endurance over the long haul, not just for one match. Let's talk about protein. Protein is important for your body. However, protein is not going to increase your energy. Protein is meant to repair your body and things such as this. So don't think that you're going to take a protein shake right before you perform and suddenly it's going to help your energy levels. Where protein can really be beneficial is a post-workout drink where you take 10 to 20 grams of protein in that post-workout meal. Antioxidants help your body protect itself against the free radicals that it produces during an exercise session. So when you exercise, you produce a bunch of free radicals, and when you eat foods with antioxidants, your body can recover more quickly and prevent damage to your body. So it's very important to eat foods that have a lot of these antioxidants in them. And the main foods that are full of antioxidants are fruits, vegetables, and superfoods. In summary, you need to remember this. Before you work out, and before a game and a tournament day, you need to keep your foods easily digested. That means fruits, vegetables, superfoods, and you need to target the foods that are going to help produce nitric oxide so you have sustained energy and you do not crash. You need to avoid the foods that are going to make you crash. Eating candy bars in between matches is not a good strategy because you're going to spike your blood sugar and then you're going to crash later on, and that crash usually occurs right when you're in the big match. You might be in the finals later on in the day. That's when you're going to experience a crash, and that's when the most important matches usually occur. Just think about it. So I like to do this. I like to put a smoothie in a container like a little steel thermos, and I like to sip on it between matches throughout the day. It keeps the energy levels sustained with no spike and no crash. I also make sure I pick the smoothie recipes that really increase nitric oxide levels, and those are listed under the athletic performance section on this website.